Yamunatira vanachari Yamunatira vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Just give the translation of that verse. It goes, Krishna is a lover of Radha. He displays many amorous pastimes in the groves of Vrindavan. He is a lover of the cowherd maidens of Raj, the holder of the great hill named Govardhan, the beloved son of Mother Yasoda, the delighter of the inhabitants of Raj, and he wanders in the forests along the banks of the river Yamuna. So it's quite an auspicious day on the Vaishnava calendar. It's the appearance day of Srimati Sita Devi, the consort of Lord Sri Rama. It's Sri Madhu Pandita's disappearance and Srimati Javana Devi's appearance. So it's just customary to read a little bit about these great personalities before the class begins. So I'll start with Srimati Sita Devi, consort of Lord Sri Rama. Srimati Sita Devi is the goddess of fortune. She appeared from the earth and was brought up by Maharaj Janaka, the king of Mithila. Thus one of her names is Janaki. At her Swaivamavara ceremony, when a princess chooses her husband, the prospective candidates had to string Lord Shiva's enormous bow, which was extremely heavy. Most of the princes couldn't even lift it, what to speak of anything else, but Lord Ramachandra easily lifted it up, stringed it, and broke it in half. Sita Devi happily gave him the garland, signifying that she chose him as her husband. Lord Ramachandra took a vow, Kapatni Vrata, to only accept one wife. Sita Devi's sister, Urmila, married Lakshman. Her cousins, Mandavi and Shrutakirti, married Lord Rama's other two brothers, Bharat and Shatrugna, respectively. When Sri Ramachandra was banished, Srimati Sita Devi insisted on accompanying him, despite the difficulties of living in a forest for 14 years. Ravana kidnapped Sita and wanted to enjoy her, but Lord Ramachandra rescued her with the help of Hanuman and his monkey soldiers. Kurma Purana describes that when Ravana kidnapped Sita Devi, she took shelter of the fire god Agni Dev. Thus Ravana could only take Maya Sita, an illusory representation of Srimati Sita Devi, for no one can ever take the goddess of fortune from her consort, the supreme personality of Godhead. After Ravana was killed by Lord Ramachandra, Sita Devi was brought before the fire. When the illusory Sita was brought before the fire god made the illusory form disappear and delivered the real Sita to Lord Rama. Sita Devi gave birth to her sons Lava and Kusha in the ashram of Valmiki Rishi, the author of the Ramayana. Shortly after their birth, she entered the earth again. So, Sri Madhu Pandit. Sri Madhu Pandit was a disciple of Sri Gadadhara Pandit. Vrajaban, Lord Krishna's great-grandson, installed the original Gopinath deity in Vrindavan over 5,000 years ago. About 500 years ago, Paramanda Bhattacharya discovered the deity in the earth at Vamshivata on the banks of the Yamuna. Madhu Pandit Goswami established the temple of Gopinath, one of the 7 main deities in Vrindavan. So finally, Srimati Javani Devi. Srimati Javani Devi is the consort of Lord Nityananda. She is a daughter of Shuridas Sharikela, a great devotee of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Shuridas was looking for a suitable husband for his 2 daughters, Srimati Janava Devi and Srimati Vasuda Devi, when Lord Nityananda appeared in his dream as Lord Balaram with his 2 consorts, Ravati and Varuni. In his dream, Lord Balaram turned into Lord Nityananda, and Ravati and Varuni turned into his 2 daughters, Janava and Vasudha. Understanding this dream, he offered his daughters to Sri Nityananda. Shri Shikho Nitai Mayapur Sashiki Jai. Understanding this dream, he offered his daughters to Sri Nityananda, who accepted them as his wives. After the disappearance of the Panchatattva and many of Lord Chaitanya's eternal associates, a huge Sankirtan festival was held in Kuturi on Gora Punim. Thousands of Lord Gauranga's followers, such as Narottama, Shimanda, Srinivas, Vrindavan Das, Murari Chaitanya, Parameshvara, and Minaketana Ramdas, attended the first Keturi Sankirtan Mahotsava. They celebrated Gauranga's appearance with thunderous chanting, exuberant dancing, and tasty prasadam. 6 sets of beautiful deities were installed. Sri Janavi Mata cooked a matchless feast and personally served all the Vaishnavas. During Narottama's Das Thakur's Prema Nema Kirtan, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, and all their associates suddenly appeared to the delight of all. Ma Janava, an affectionate name given by the devotees, travelled throughout Gora and Vraj mandalas. Wherever she went, the Gora Bhaktas happily greeted and served her. Known as Nityananda Swavarupani, Janavi Devi overflow with prema bhakti. She delivered many atheists and sinners by her compassionate preaching. It is said that Sri Janava Devi left this world by entering the deity of Gopinath in Vrindavan. Sri Vaishnava Thakur's Ki Jai. So I'll just read a little bit from Srila Prabhupada's Leela Amrita. It's Prabhupada, he built a house in which the whole world can live. But when the fine basmati rice boiled to a moist, fluffy white finish, and the subji simmered, the noon cooking would climax with the chants. Keith prepared the chants exactly as Swamiji had shown him. Over the flame, he set a metal cup, half filled with clarified butter, and then put in cumin seeds. When the seeds turned almost black, he added chilies, and as the chilies blackened, a choking smoke began to pour from the cup. Now the chants was ready. With his cook's tongs, Keith lifted the cup, its boiling, crackling mixture, fuming like a sorcerer's kettle, and brought it to the edge of the pot of boiling dal. He opened the tight cover slightly, dumped the boiling chauce into the dal with a flick of his wrist, and immediately replaced the lid. Pow! The greeting of the chants and dal created an explosion, which was then greeted by cheers from the doorway, signifying that the cooking was now complete. This final operation was so volatile that it once blew the top of the plot to the ceiling with a loud smash, causing minor burns to Keith's hands. Some of the neighbours complained of acrid penetrating fumes, but the devotees loved it. When lunch was ready, Swamiji would wash his hands and mouth in the bathroom and come out into the front room, his soft, pink-bottomed feet always bare, his saffron dhoti reaching down to his ankles. He would stand by the coffee table, which held the picture of Lord Chaitanya and his associates, while his own associates stood around him against the walls. Keith would bring in a big tray of chapatis, stacked by the dozens, and place it on the floor before the altar table, along with pots of rice, dal, and sabji. Swamiji would then recite the Bengali prayer for offering food to the Lord, and all present would follow him by bowing down, knees and head to the floor, and approximating the Bengali prayer one word at a time. While the steam and mixed aromas drifted up like an offering of incense before the picture of Lord Chaitanya, the Swami's followers bowed their heads to the wooden floor and mumbled the prayer. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this is a reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, the first canto, chapter 5, verse 15. Jugotsitam Dharma Kriti Ananushata Jugopitastam Dharma Krita Anushtita Swabhava Raktasya Mahan Vit Nakrama Swabhava Raktasya Mahan Vitrakrama Yad Vakyato Dharma Itara Stito Yad Vakyata Dharma Itara Stito Na Manyate Tasha Nivaranam Jana Namanyate Tasha Nivaranam Jana Jugotsitam Dharma Krita Anushita Swabhava Raktasya Mahan Vitrakrama Yadvakyato Dharma Itara Stito Namanyate Tasya Nivaranam Jana Jugotsitam Dharma Krite Anushita Swabhava Raktasya Mahan Vitrakrama Yadvakito Dharma Itaros Dito Namanyate Tasya Nivaranam Jana Jugotsitam Dharma Krite Anushita Swabhava Raktasya Mahan Vitrakrama Yadvakyata Dharma Itaras Dito Namanyate Jal Salakaya Chakshurum Nitayena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindhu, Dinabandu Jagapate, Gopishango Takanta, Radhikanta, Mostate, Tapta Kanchana, Murangi, Radha Vikrashmas, Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakti. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. So welcome everybody to my presentation on this particular sloka of Srimad Bhagavatam. I could start by saying that I'm not qualified to deliver such a presentation. Actually, I just have to take what I get to present this as best I can, and we're given the opportunity to make a few notes on the presentation, and I've also been studying this particular volume of the Srimad Bhagavatam quite intensely for the last few weeks ago. So I was about trying to make a presentation. So it's very pertinent to compare material existence to a forest fire. We want to be happy in this material world, but this is simply not possible. We shall simply increase the blazing fire of desires. There's no sense in a forest fire. And for the poor conditioned souls who are stuck out there in the material world, they've got no chance of escaping from this forest fire. But in Krishna consciousness, we've got the Guru. The Guru is like a cloud that pours water onto this fire. Samsara Dharana, Viviga Roka, Kanaya Karana, Kanaka, Vakasi Karana, Unavasya, Ade Gurusi, Charananda Vinda. So this sloka is basically saying that the way of enjoyment isn't the way to gain any sort of footing on a spiritual platform. Enjoyment isn't sufficient to reach pure devotional service. So in the past there was something called the Grand Tour. The sons of the gentry and the well-off were called the Grand Tour after completing their university education. So for the Grand Tour, we spend a year going through the sort of the cultural sites of Europe. For example, we go to Italy and taking the sites of the Renaissance. We go through all the sort of the famous sites of Rome, for example, and other sites in the Renaissance. But the Grand Tour by itself isn't sufficient to bring about a spiritual realization on the path of pure devotional service. In Glasgow, there's an art gallery called the Calvin Grove Art Gallery, and in there you can see a magnificent painting by Salvador Dali of Christ on the cross. And I've not actually seen it myself, but to encourage people in this way to go and see the Salvador Dali, in itself, that isn't sufficient to bring people to a platform of pure devotional service. To give another example, in York, there's a magnificent cathedral called York Minster. On a Saturday and Sunday, you see all the tourists that come to York. They go on a trip around York Minster. But just going on a trip around York Minster in itself isn't sufficient to bring one to the platform of pure devotional service. Also, in the age of Kali, the general population will be covered by passion and ignorance. And also, in the Vedas, there's three divisions of the Vedas. There's Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, and Upasana Kanda. Now, Karma Kanda is fruit of activities. Karma Kanda only allows one to reach a very basic level of spiritual life. Jnana Kanda is a little bit more advanced, and Upasana Kanda This means worship of the Supreme Lord or the demigod. So it's not only about the Supreme Lord, it includes demigod worship as well. Now this is relevant to this sloka because Srimad Vyasadeva was being instructed by Narada Rishi in this chapter. Narada Muni is trying to instruct Srimad Vyasadeva on how to have Srimad Bhagavatam. What the purport in the verse refers to is the Karma Kanta division of the Vedas. The Karma Kanta division, as I've said, it mainly deals with fruitful activities, and by itself it isn't sufficient to reach an advanced spiritual platform. Shruti Smriti Puranati Pancharatra Vidya Kantapiti Hare Bhakta Upatikeva Kalpata. Devotional service of the Lord that ignores the authorized Vedic literatures like the Upanishads, Puranas, and Narada, Pancharatra is simply a necessary disturbance in society. That comes from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-101. So what follows is a little bit of segments from the Srimad Bhagavatam that are compiled to sort of to illustrate the presentation of it. So a famous sloka is that in the Srimad Bhagavatam it states that the highest truth is reality, distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. It also states that the Srimad Bhagavatam is a mature fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literatures. The occupational duties a man performs are only so much useless labour if they do not provoke attraction and the message of the personality of Godhead. That's from Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 8. Life desires should never be directed towards sense gratification. That's from Chapter 2, Canto 1, Verse 10. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purana. That's from the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Chapter 3, Text 13. So I'll just go through a few quotes from Prabhupada to illustrate the point I'm trying to make. If there are restrictions, rules and regulations, people will not become attractive. Therefore, those who want followers in the name of religion just have a show only. Don't restrict the lives of their students, nor their own lives. But that method is not approved by the Vedas. So that's a quote from a purport to the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 16, text 3. Those who attain the highest material planets, the planets of the demigods, are again subjected to repeated birth and death. As persons on earth are elevated to higher planets, people on higher planets, such as Brahmaloka, Chandraloka, and Indraloka, fall down to earth. That's from the purport to Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, text 16. Even in the Vedic literatures are all sorts of religious performances and allurement of material gains offered, and most people are attracted by such allurement or blessings of religiosity. That's from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 10. Persons who are in the modes of passion and ignorance are unable to understand the subject matter of the Vedas. That's again from the purport to the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 4, Text 24. So we should know the word Dharma in this sloka. Dharma describes the essential nature of an object offering. For example, the Dharma of water is that it is wet. So the question is, what is the Dharma of human life? Besides that life always is too short. Well, the Bhagavatam answers that question in this sloka, text 6, chapter 2, canto 1. Sadhan Purusan Parodhana, Yato Bhakta Production, Hutekuti, Yatmana, Supra, Dusatake. The supreme occupation, Dharma, for all humanity is that by which man can attain loving devotional service into the transcendental world. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. So, Prabhupada makes some interesting points in his purport to this sloka. This is a quote from the sloka. The Vedas prescribe two different types of occupation of the human being. One is called the Pavriti marg, or the path of sense enjoyment, and the other is called the Nivriti marg, or the path of renunciation. The path of enjoyment is inferior, and the path of sacrifice of the supreme cause is superior. The material existence of the living being is a diseased condition of actual life. Actual life is spiritual existence, or Brahma Bhuta existence, where life is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. Material existence is temporary, illusory, and full of miseries. There is no happiness at all. So if I could just refer to the Srimad Bhagavatam for a couple of points, I wish to further illustrate this theme of renunciation or tapasya. Tapasya is the acceptance of material inconveniences for the purpose of advancement in spiritual life. It can also be described as austerity or penance. So this next sloka is very well known. Prabhupada uses it often in his teachings, especially the first half of the sloka. So Lord Rasadeva told his sons, "My dear boys, of all the living entities who have accepted material bodies in this world, one who has been born in this human form should not work hard day and night, simply for sense gratification, which is available even for dogs and hogs to eat stool. One should engage in penance and austerity to attain the divine position of devotional service. By such activity, one's heart is purified, and when one attains this position, he attains eternal, blissful life, which is transcendental to material happiness, and which continues forever." So, in the second example, Lord Brahma is confused. He cannot trace the source of his lotus feet, which is actually Bhagavatakashaya Vishnu. And while thinking of creating the material world, he could not understand the proper direction for such creative work, nor could he find out the process of such creation. In his meditation, Lord Brahma heard the words, "Tapa, tapa." He tried to find the speaker of his words, but could not. So sat on his lotus feet firmly and gave his attention to the execution of penance, as he was instructed. Lord Brahma underwent penances for 1,000 celestial years. At the end of these penances, he was able to create, becoming the creator of the universe. So these are some of Prabhupada's writings on this subject, particularly on the last part about Lord Brahma. The word tapa means penance, quote, "This penance is the beauty and wealth of the Brahmanas and the renounced order of life. According to the Bhagavad philosophy, every human being is meant simply for this tapa and for no other business, because by penance only one can realize himself. And self-realization, not sense gratification, is the business of human life. This tapa or penance was begun from the very beginning of the creation, and it was first adopted by the Supreme Spiritual Master, Lord Brahma. By tapasya only, one can get the profit of human life, and not by a polished civilization of animal life. The animal does not know anything except sense gratification in the jurisdiction of each be merry and enjoy. But the human being is made to undergo tapasya, we're going back to Godhead, back home. Lord Brahma heard the occult sound tapa, but he did not see the person who vibrated the sound, and still he accepted the instruction as beneficial for him, and therefore he engaged himself in meditation for 1,000 celestial years. Such execution of penance in full faith and sincerity made Brahmaji so powerful that he became the creator of the universe. And because he was able to attain such power, he is called the best among the Tapasis. So we can see that the natural inclination to enjoy, when he's called the best among the Tapasis, that was the end of the quote from Bhagavatam. So we can see that the natural inclination to enjoy, when encouraged in the name of religion, is unreasonable and is very condemned. That there is a prohibition on sense gratification, which is considered inferior to tapasya. Now Prabhupada gave a lecture on this sloka in New Vrindavan on the 19th of June 1969, and he gave this little story, this little analogy on the sloka. So this is the analogy of it. A bridegroom party was to go to the bride's home. In India, the marriage party, bridegroom party, the bride, his father, his relatives go with the bridegroom to the bride's home, and the marriage ceremony takes place there in the presence of all kinds of relatives. That is the system. So the marriage was to take place in a different village, some miles away, and in Bengal, the land is full of rivers. The rivers are considered to be high roads. So it was settled that the bridegroom's party will start in the evening before the marriage day and reach there in the morning, and rest whole day, and in the evening the marriage will take place. So they got up in a boat, and the boat was started, and all the members of the bridegroom's party, they fell asleep. It was on the river. The breeze was very pleasing, and next morning, when they arose, they saw they were standing in the same place. Then they were surprised. How is that? The boatman asked, how is it that we are in the same place? We have not proceeded even a few yards. How is that? The boatman said that we were flying the whole night. We do not know how it happened. Then one boatman found out that the anchor was not taken out. The anchor was fixed up, and the whole night they were flying, and the boat was round about the anchor only, moving, and it was did not go a step forward. So this little story that illustrates the point that before becoming conscious, when you become Krishna conscious. See, that was a great mistake that the boatman made. He didn't move the anchor, so the boat wouldn't move forward. So this is just a humorous story to illustrate the point that's made in this sloka. Unless you become Krishna conscious, your life could be considered just a waste of time, just so much wasted labor. So I'm just giving another quote from Prabhupada. So this quote is that Srimad Bhagavatam is a science performing the path of Nivritimar. The path of Nivritimar was condemned by Narada. That path is a natural inclination for all conditioned souls. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the cure of the materialistic disease of the human being, by stopping completely the pangs of material existence. Aham sarvasya prabhavo rata sarvam prabhavate itanam vavajantiman vidabhava sanandita. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfect know this, engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So that's a verse from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, verse 8. So I'm reminded by this presentation of one of the purposes of ISKCON. So the purpose of ISKCON number 6 is to bring the members closer together for the purpose of teaching a simpler, more natural way of life. Yeah, I'll just give what I consider a key sentence from the purport. So the key sentences of the purport: under the circumstances, we should never be encouraged in making a plan for sense enjoyment in the name of religious functions. Such diversion of the human energy results in a misguided civilization. So the point that I've been trying to make in this presentation is that basically there's two paths we can take: the Nivriti marg or the Pavriti marg. The Nivriti marg, even though it's a path of austerities and penance, is to be considered superior to the path of Pavriti marg. The Pavriti marg is a path of unrestrained sense enjoyment. And so this enjoyment is also found in the animal kingdom, where the goals of life are eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. And unless people are encouraged to take the path of the Nivriti marg, we just waste their lives fruitlessly away. In pursuing eating, mating, sleeping, and defending. And there's really in the chapter of the Mahamantra, that's the only way to cross the ocean of material essence. So I hope you've enjoyed my presentation. If anyone has any comments or questions, you can deliver them to me, and I'll try to answer them.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much. I'm just wondering, you see there's the two paths, Pavriti and the Nivriti marg, and if we're supposed to do tapasya and austerity, then why does it sometimes feel so unnatural?
Well, I might have to go to the sort of, I think that answer that on the basis of the three laws of material nature. For example, the three laws of material nature is ignorance, passion, and goodness. And for someone in the mode of ignorance is inclined to sort of sleep a lot, be lazy, and someone under the influence of the mode of ignorance is naturally ignorant, which means he doesn't like sort of has to be sort of very heavily encouraged to sort of get out of the mode of ignorance. So if someone's in the mode of ignorance, he won't be inclined to take up any austerities or penances, because it will be more satisfied with being in the mode of ignorance. We talked there's only the mode of goodness which can deliver one from material existence. One has to be in the mode of goodness before he can come to an understanding of what Dharma really is. modes of passion and ignorance. A person in modes of passion and ignorance can't really understand what's necessary to attain transcendence, shall we say. Also, in the Bhagavad Gita, too much unnecessary penance or austerity is condemned. We're told that if one eats too much, or eats too little, or speaks too much, or speaks too little, you cannot follow the path of yoga. Someone may be inclined to eat too little or sleep too little because they think it's beneficial for their spiritual practice. But, in Krishna consciousness, we're only encouraged to sort of do austerities which are productive, not ones that are counterproductive. Is that okay for you?
Thank you very much.
Have you got any comments on the class, for example? Would you follow it, or is it too obscure? Or?
Yeah, thank you very much for this nice it's a nice selection of quotes from Srimad on Bhagavad Gita. It's a topic which I find quite distasteful because I'm quite sort of heavily addicted to sense gratification. and I generally find it hard to accept this conclusion, but you've kind of argued the case very well. So I think at least my tendency to support the Prabhupada Marg has been lessened. So thank you very much. And it's nice to hear you speak with so much confidence in the topic, which obviously indicates that you're getting some taste from the path of Prabhupada Marg. And you see that in the enthusiasm by which you carry out your regulated activities through devotional service. So it's nice that you're a suitable candidate for presenting the case. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Sri Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki
Jai.
His praise, Jayananda Prabhu ki
Jai.
This is microphone only connected to the. It's not connected to the speakers, is it?
I don't mind if anything.
Yes, it is.